Welcome to the Tax Talk. On this show, we go all out to help you get a firm grasp of issues related to tax administration in Lagos State. My name is Titilayo Oyinso. I'm going to be your pilot till the end of the show. Our first order of the day is business news. Stay with us.
This is business news. Taxpayers may not be paying higher taxes anytime soon, as the federal government says its priority is to bring more Nigerians into the tax net rather than increase tax rates. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, says Nigeria's revenue challenge is not about imposing higher taxes, but ensuring that everyone who should pay taxes does so. Speaking in Abuja during a visit by the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Oyedele said many Nigerians still misunderstand the government's tax reforms, believing they are designed to collect more money. He stressed that the reforms are aimed at promoting fairness by expanding the number of taxpayers and improving voluntary compliance. The minister also called for annual awards to recognize the country's most tax-compliant individuals and businesses, saying such recognition would encourage more Nigerians to fulfill their civic responsibility. The tax awareness campaign marked 1 year since President Bola Tinubu signed Nigeria's Tax Reform Act into law. And that's it on Business News.
Welcome back. Now, I'm pretty sure you're already familiar with the format the Tax Talk takes on a weekly basis. As usual, today we have a guest in the studio joining us to analyze, break down, and better understand the day's topic. And it's an interesting one. Legal framework and enforcement. And our guest today is the Lagos State Internal Revenue Services Director, Legal Services, Mr. Seyi Alade. It's great to have you in the studio with us today.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we have to welcome you with quite a lot of energy, because what you do on a daily basis is digest a lot of information. Corporate Talk today is discussing this topic, and hopefully you will be able to help us put two and two together with regards being more informed on this matter. Are you ready to go, sir?
Please, when you are.
All right. All right, so for our first question for today, the Nigeria Tax Administration Act 2025 significantly strengthens the legal architecture of tax administration. From a legal services perspective, how does the new framework redefine the balance between enforcement, authority, and taxpayer rights compared to the previous laws?
Thank you very much for that question. The new tax laws from the Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act has gone ahead to consolidate all the different laws that I can describe were all over the place, So we have more of a compendium now of the different tax laws. And some of the laws have been even totally repealed. And they have been very much simplified, for the administration, and even so much more for the taxpayers. So in that sense, the new tax laws, the Nigerian Tax Administration Act is a compendium of all the taxes that are out there, yes. So, and this makes it so very much easier, for referencing and then also for administration.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's sort of given us more access to information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you don't have to, if I may explain further, you don't have different acts, to make references to. By just opening the Nigerian Tax Act, there's been a consolidation of the different tax laws.
Okay.
So the Nigerian Tax Act now, you will find elements of the Stamp Duty Act there. You will find elements of the capital gains tax, elements of the personal income tax, also the Company Income Tax Act. So all those laws now have been consolidated, and some have been outrightly repealed, as it were.
Okay. So I want to jump into the issue of failure to file returns, or let's say pay assessed taxes. Now, it remains one of the most common compliance gaps. Under the new law, does non-filing constitute a criminal offense? And what legal consequences may arise before prosecution is actually considered?
Okay, I would like to start this way. Filing of returns is a very, very important duty and obligation of the citizen. This duty has a constitutional flavor.
Okay.
So Section 24F of the Nigerian Constitution mandates every Nigerian citizen to file his or her tax or returns, that is returns of income made in the previous year, and to file such returns honestly and diligently with the relevant tax authority. So that is a constitutional flavor. It is from this that the other tax acts, derives that's the foundation, if I can put it that way.
Okay.
So you will, under the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, for instance, Section 13, now makes it a duty also flowing from that Section 24F of the Constitution, for every taxpayer to file his returns without demand or notice. And now going back to the second leg of your question, failure to file returns does not automatically become an offense,
Okay.
a criminal offense. However, it may become a criminal offense when there is that persistent neglect.
Okay.
Because now, if you refuse to file your returns, you have actually deprived the tax authority, the knowledge of knowing what you gained as an income in the previous year. And if you have now refused to pay as well, that's the combination of that is tax evasion. And as we all know, tax evasion is an offense. So if there is a neglect or a failure to file, in the first instance, what we have will be administrative penalties that will apply.
Okay.
and such administrative penalties in the first month of that failure, according to, that is pursuant to Section 101 of the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. You will be subject to pay 100,000 naira.
Okay.
And now, for every subsequent month of that failure, you will be subjected to additional penalty of 50,000 naira as the months go by. And of course, when you are failed for 2-3 months to file your returns, then the tax authority wouldn't have any other choice than to see you as wanting to evade taxes, because that is the very foundation of tax administration.
If you don't mind, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more on the Tax Talk. Stay with us.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
Let's talk a little bit on self-assessment now. And this depends on honest disclosure. What are the legal implications of false declarations of income? You know, understatement, for instance, or deliberate tax evasion, as you've already mentioned. How does the law distinguish between error and actual intentional misconduct?
Okay, that's a very, very important question also. If and when you have filed your returns, there are certain elements of, of filing returns, which I would describe as very, very important towards, a proper declaration of your income. So I'll give a very simple example. If you are an employee
Okay.
with, say, a company, and you get employment income, and you have declared that. However, if you have maybe a couple of properties
Okay.
around, and you fail to declare income, rental income coming from those properties, then what have you done in that instance? That has been a false declaration.
Okay.
So the scale of measuring, what is false declaration or what is just an omission,
Okay.
maybe just a kind of without malice omission, let me put it that way, can be seen in what you have filed. Because false declarations is not what the tax authority may get to know immediately, but by subsequent facts that may come to that to the relevant tax authority. Okay. And when it comes to the relevant tax authority, of course, you'll be invited to say, hey, you failed to mention this A and B properties and the rental income that you got from those properties in your the returns that you filed. So
Okay.
now you need to explain yourself.
Okay.
You
So explaining, I'm so sorry to take us back to the, you mentioned rental income from possibly a property.
Yes.
I want to sort of touch on inherited properties here, because I believe you're the person that would be able to talk to us about that. If, for instance, maybe an aged parent passes away and they have property and they're taking rental income on that property, but they've not previously been remitting tax. The person who inherits that property, do they have to take over the tax obligations of that person that's passed away? Does it carry over?
Okay, now we're talking about personal income tax.
Okay.
So what you have inherited and now what has become an income in your pocket is personal to you.
Okay.
So the failure of your parents who were receiving rental incomes to declare before, actually is extinguished with them, with their passing.
Okay.
I don't want to go too
Deep.
deep into that because there are, of course, different elements.
Sure.
If we're talking about maybe an estate, and then, of course, there's been an issue of trusteeship and all of that,
Sure.
But when you, as a beneficiary, you are being given a portion of that rental income, that income has now become your personal income,
Okay.
which you must declare, because
Okay.
income is from all sources, and we call it global income. So for Nigerian residents or Nigerian citizens who are residents in Nigeria, it is income made in Nigeria,
Okay.
and those even made outside the country.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us. Now, there's often concern about immediate prosecution once a filing deadline expires. You've mentioned deadlines already. Now, what sort of procedural safeguards, notices, what sort of engagement, what sort of steps must occur before a taxpayer is criminally charged?
Okay. Like as I explained earlier, there are certain pathways that the tax authority may explore. So automatically, we do not begin to rush to prosecute,
Okay.
For failure to file. There would have been engagements, and these engagements are because the tax authority can, based on your failure to file your returns, there is a statutory power for the tax authority to look at you and look at your circumstances, your social circumstances and all of that, and, to bring about a best of judgment assessment.
Okay.
And when such a best of judgment assessment is made, an assessment notice must be served on you.
Okay.
So if you now neglected or failed to attend to that assessment, then there's still another step. And such other step is the tax authority must now demand for payment of that assessment that has been served on you earlier. If you neglect again, then after the time given, we call it, I refer to it as a moratorium. So if you neglected to make payment within that moratorium of 30 days or to object to that assessment, then it becomes final and conclusive. Then my services will now be called upon to proceed against you. And of course, in that case, I can draw a prima facie case of tax evasion, and also I will be chasing you to recover the assessment as tax debt owed the state.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for breaking it down. And now I would love to go deeper into that, but there's still some other areas we need to touch on. The power of distrain is one of the most visible enforcement tools available to revenue authorities. Is distrain constitutionally grounded, and under what conditions is it exercised? And in addition, what protections exist to prevent abuse?
Thank you very much for that very important question. The power to levy distress upon the property of a taxpayer. And the property, we're talking about goods, chattels, and any other thing that can be realized, to defray the tax debt, is a well-grounded constitutional power. Section 44 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, as amended, provides that, in fact, the fundamental rights are, of course, as you know, are enshrined in the Constitution, the fundamental rights of the Nigerian citizens, from the right to fair hearing and all of that, the right. So now, the right that is constituted under Section 44 is the right to own property.
Okay.
And for you not to be deprived of your property. But then, one of the exceptions to that right is when a tax debt is to be recovered.
Wow.
Yes. So, and how do you recover a tax debt? Levying of distress.
Okay.
So, pursuant to Section 61 of the Nigerian Tax Act is one of the ways. However, the tax authority must also go through certain very important steps before it can use that power. So of course, like I described earlier, there must have been an assessment, a demand notice, and even for us at the legal directorate of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, we still go ahead to issue a notice, pre-action protocol notice to the taxpayer, imploring the taxpayer to come forward to settle one way or the other the tax debt, so that we do not go the route of levying distress against the taxpayer. So there are very, very important statutory steps that, guarantees that the tax authority does not just, use this power in a careless way.
If you ever find yourself wondering what exactly is being done with the money being collected as tax, well, you're in the right place. This next segment highlights projects either being executed or finished utilizing taxpayers' funds. Time now for Tax Did It.
I'm honored to welcome you to the launch of a new fleet of ferries manufactured in Lagos. This event not only signifies a significant step in our efforts to improve inland waterways transportation, but also promises to enhance the daily transit experience for our residents, making their journeys safer, faster, and more comfortable.
The Omnibus Ferries project is not just about improving transportation, it's about transforming how we live and move.
To reduce the usage of cars on the road, thereby creating interconnectivity with the waterways, the rail, and the road.
Transportation is key because it is a human capital that makes Lagos what it is.
We are so proud of Lagos State. We are very proud of Omnibus.
Was chosen to come and tell the citizens of Lagos that the first pillar of our economic agenda, which is the T, which stands for transportation and traffic management, that's the pillar we have chosen today to come and demonstrate our commitment to you, to come and say to you that everything we've said to ensure that we'll have a comprehensive, integrated, urban mass transportation system will not be shortchanged.